let's jump into day 2 of our 100-day creative challenge where we journal and watercolor journal for 100 days using prompts from Suleika Jaouad's book, The Book of Alchemy. For day 2, we're going to be reading Just 10 Things by Ash Parsons Story, and every prompt for this book has a short story or short essay from an author. And the last one for day 1 was Dani Shapiro. And this prompt today, this one goes from talking about one thing to talking about 10 things. And I think this is a really interesting challenge, especially for those of us who are doing both a creative and painting practice here alongside writing, because the book is geared more towards writing and less towards art and creativity, although Suleika does talk about how art can be a part of this and is a big part of it for her and for a lot of the authors here. But these prompts are really a great way to challenge both the writer part of you and also the painter or the creator part of you. And this prompt in particular really felt like a big challenge. So the prompt was to basically pick 10 things from the last 24 hours. And I expanded it a bit and I went past 24 hours and I went into just like the past month, and to describe 10 moments, just 10 moments bulleted down from the past 24 hours or beyond that you can describe. And for me, this is hard. The way my brain works, when you tell me to picture something, I don't immediately have a picture of that thing in my mind. I have to really work hard to create that image in my mind. And so thinking of 10 things from the last 24 hours was really hard because I've been mostly home during a little staycation for myself for the last 24 hours. But it's just hard in general for me to really visualize a moment without having to really sit and think and rebuild the schema, essentially, of that moment. And so I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to do this concisely or efficiently, but I managed to do it. I managed to write for about 10 to 15 minutes, which seems to be my sweet spot. Writing for about 10 to 15 minutes seems to feel like a good amount of time to get what I want to say across in enough detail and with enough context to feel like I have made sense. And so ask yourself kind of what your sweet spot is. When do you notice that your pen starts to get heavy? When do you notice that you kind of start running out of things to say? And is it always different? Maybe. But for me, that 10 to 15 minute spot is good. So whatever your sweet spot is, try to use that as the amount of time you set for yourself when you're journaling for these prompts, and see how much you can get across on the page with that amount of time. And so my 10 things were quite varied and different, and they all revolved around feeling a sense of freedom and connection and groundedness amidst a lot of chaos and a lot of ungroundedness, and especially in my personal life and in the world, obviously, around us. It's really hard to feel grounded in anything, and this exercise really challenged me to ground myself into my reality and the parts of my reality that actually feel really good. And it's might be really hard to find profound things. Not all of my things were profound. Like one of my things was the cherry chip ice cream I had from a French ice cream place in Boston after a concert I went to, and that was really nice. And it was just the ice cream, and then there's moments in there that are like a concert that are bigger and that might be more profound. But it's okay if all of your moments are literally, I woke up, I took a breath in, I opened my eyes and I saw a blue sky. Like that's enough. That's okay. It does not have to be profound moments. So asking yourself, how easy is it? How hard is it for you to think of 10 moments, 10 things that have happened for you recently that are at least worth noting? And I don't know that it really needs to be all good things. Ash, in their short story, talk about the sound of a medical machine during a medical trauma moment, and that being something visceral from the moments. So the things that I focused on were moments of groundedness and freedom, but for you, it might not be. It might even be visceral moments of sadness or visceral moments of grief or loss or trauma or tragedy, and that's okay too. Access whatever comes up here. Don't limit yourself on content based off what I'm talking about here. Really think about just what is coming up for you, what your gut instinct is to write about and to list down. So I've moved on now to sketching, and I am not an illustrator. I am not someone who proclaims to be good at drawing. I am not. I am someone who can look at a reference and I can draw pretty well from that, but I don't repetitively draw, so I haven't gotten significantly good at drawing any one thing particularly. So when I am drawing or sketching things out for a painting, for example, it's a lot of me looking at a reference until I've drawn it probably 10 to 15 times, and there's not many things I've drawn 10 to 15 times. So knowing that this may challenge you if you're going from writing down your 10 things to now trying to illustrate or paint your 10 things, the goal here is not perfection. And when I first started here in this moment here, I'm like, what am I doing? This is not anything. This is so bad. This is not an illustration that I would want to share on YouTube. No one's going to be impressed by this. And that was a very strong voice during this process. It was like, no one's going to be impressed by this. And that's a really strong voice for me a lot of the time when I am creating, is the impressibility of what I'm doing. And I have had to work really hard to allow that voice to settle down and allow that voice to realize that there's nobody to impress other than myself. And I'm just impressing myself by being here, by recording my thoughts, by taking the time to put together a challenge. Like, that should be, and if you're here listening, if you're here sketching or drawing or writing, then you should be proud of yourself, and that should be enough. And this isn't to impress anybody. And so if you have never picked up a pen to draw, if you've never painted before and you're wanting to do this challenge, but you tell yourself, there's no way I could ever make anything that made sense, I want you to do it anyways. Even those of us who end up with something we like I actually ended up really liking what I did here, even though during this entire process, I am like, what am I doing? But the fun part about this is that I am adding all of my 10 little scenes here, all collectively into this collage. So by the end of it, it kind of just ends up looking like this abstract expression of lines that actually look like something, but don't look like exactly something, if that makes sense. I don't know how to articulate that in a more articulate way at this moment, but I really loved the way this looked when it all came together, and I'm actually going to repeat this, and I was shocked at the feeling I had at the end of this exercise. So if you can sketch out some visuals for your 10 items, I want you to try to do that for this challenge. Try to challenge yourself to sketch out or paint out what you wrote down for your 10 things. And it can be just one small moment. I started out with some more detailed moments or expressions of the moment. So I have on the left, it's the road that I was driving down in my convertible, and it's the barns that I drive by. And I use signs a lot in these drawings. So couldn't really draw, I didn't want to draw a bookstore, but I was going to a bookstore. So I just drew a sign that says books to indicate that was the day that I went and got books. And, at one point I do a corn maze, and I could not draw a corn maze quickly in a way that made sense. So I just did a circular maze shape and did some squiggly lines like corn. And when I say corn, my brain said they were corn. They were not. It was just squiggly lines. I'll show you in a little bit. But, and then I just drew a sign that just said corn maze. This is not meant to impress anybody. I'm not selling this piece in my journal. I am literally just trying to get what's on the inside of me out. And you're just trying to get what's on the inside of you out. And see, you never know. I was quite surprised. I'm drawing at one point me at an easel. No, here, I'm drawing me doing, I'm sitting actually on the toilet, doing number 1 or 2, and the dogs coming in and surprising me in the morning with their big smiles when they realize I'm awake. And I was like, how am I going to draw that? And you know what? It's not super literal. There's a door. I can see it because I know what I'm drawing. I wrote a sign that says good morning, and the dogs are literally stick dogs. The people are literally stick people, but I know what it is. And when I cross-reference this picture, when it all comes together with my journal entry, I will know exactly what it is that I'm drawing. And when I showed my husband, he was like, oh my God. And he can sketch really quickly and pretty well, where I cannot. And so to see him impressed by this, how it came together, it felt really good. And so doing that thing where we check in with what voices are coming up, what parts are coming up in our head. So we all have this dysfunctional, or maybe some of us have a functional family in our head that have formed over the years in different ways in order to protect us, in order to help us navigate our world. And so we think of our different parts as the parts that show up when we're doing an activity. So when you're sitting down and you're doing something, you may hear multiple different kind of voices coming in. One that says I should be doing something else. One that says, what should I be doing? One that says, I hate this. One that says, I love this. Like the judge part that says, this is good or bad. The, kid part that says, oh, this is really fun. I'm really having a great time. I never want this to end. There might be, the lonely part that says, I really wish I had someone to do this with, or I wish I had more community. Like we all have multiple parts. And if you go into doing parts therapy, your therapist will help you kind of identify what parts you kind of have around you at different times and what types of parts show up, what their different roles are. And so during the creative process is a great time to get to know your different parts, get to know the roles and the characters that come up and try to kind of narrate your experience and tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing or feeling or thinking. And the more you get to know those parts, the more you can kind of identify who those parts are, where they came from. Are they you? Are they from a teacher, from a parent, from a caregiver, from an ex, from a partner, from a kid that you take care of, your child, your niece or nephew? Like where, and it's probably less likely to be a kid because usually it's a part that has been around for a while. Actually, that's not true. No, because if you hang out with a kid all the time, you might start to develop a part in your brain that starts to sound more like your kid, and you may find yourself more present or more childlike. So anyways, as I work out my thoughts, you have these parts and figuring out kind of, are these me? Are these authentically aligned with my thoughts, my values, my morals, my desires, my preferences, or are they more colored by the thoughts, the preferences, and the feelings of other people in my life or other players in my life? And your creative process, you might notice that part that says, this is foolish, this is silly, this is cringe. Why am I doing this? I'm not good at this. I'm an imposter. I'm not an artist. What am I doing? Like there's all different versions of that. And we want to just try our best to allow those parts to settle down, to give those parts actually permission to put down all the criticism and just play. Just play and just explore and see what happens. And my parts got really, really excited when I pulled out these watercolors. My parts were so excited to see color. And the minute that the color hit the page, I started to settle down a bit. The sketch started to make sense, all these sketches coming together and the colors, seeing them come together. There was a noticeable shift in my body when I shifted into adding colors, because there was almost like an agreement amongst all the parts that it felt good to see those colors. I can't quite explain that in any other way other than that. And it might be a similar feeling when you allow yourself to scribble down colors without judgment for the first time and you realize, wow, that actually felt really good. Or when you allow yourself to draw something and like it, even if it's not perfect. There's something that comes with that permission to play and explore. And these parts that you've had been carrying when you've been through a lifetime of trauma, of chaos, of death, of grief, of illness, parts develop as a way to protect you. If your parts tell you you're not a good artist, you can't do this, you won't do this, you shouldn't do this, you're bad at this, they're ultimately trying to protect you from doing something badly and feeling worse. They don't want you to feel worse than you already do. So they're trying to keep you into this safe little box and away from any possible criticism or any possible disappointment. And the thing is with your creative process and with a process like this, where it's 100 days of prompts that no one else ever has to see, you can rip this up at the end. You can burn this up at the end. And Suleika talks about that. You don't have to keep any of this. This doesn't have to be a journal that you keep as a time capsule or a time sake. You can just burn all of this and do this for the sake of allowing yourself to do it. And then maybe someday you keep it. Maybe you don't burn it someday. But for now, allow yourself to do whatever feels good. And if there's rage at the end of this, if you feel like this is a waste of your time, but you've done it anyways, I want you to allow that to be your experience through this. And I got a comment on my first day from somebody who is going through a bout of cancer for, I think they said the second time. And if you are one of those people right now who is up against insurmountable or seemingly insurmountable odds, I want you to know how much of a gift that you're giving yourself by just allowing yourself to exist in whatever it is that you're wanting to do. The gift of allowing yourself to create, the gift of allowing yourself to be in the feels, the gift of allowing yourself to just admit that you're lonely, to admit that this is hard, to admit that life is hard. So many of us want to show up as these strong, brave caricatures of ourselves, these images of, insurmountable strength and courage. And in reality, sometimes we just need a community where we can fall apart, where we can let ourselves grieve, where we can let ourselves put down our 10 things, even if they're deeply dark and depressing. Or, like my day one was my childhood home burning. It doesn't get much darker than that for me. And so for you, it's okay to put the darkness down. It's okay if your 10 images aren't colorful. It's okay if your 10 images are dark or scary, or even if you couldn't come up with 10 images, even if you came up with one or none. I want you to know that you're welcome here, and this is a space where we can just let it out and put it on the page. But making sure that you're taking care of yourself through this process, making sure that if things that are heavy are coming up, that you go talk to somebody about it, that you find somebody, even if it's a stranger with permission, even if it's a professional, like doing whatever you need to do to not further shame yourself into the dark and to bring into the light these things that matter, and finding a community of people, even if it's strangers on the internet, who can hold you through some of that. Even if it's just your journal, even if there's no strangers on the internet, even if it's just you and your journal, you and your pages. This is an opportunity to allow yourself, to give yourself permission. And that's it, just allowing yourself. There doesn't even have to be anything after that. Just allow yourself. Whatever comes after that is up to you. So if you've been with me this whole time, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what's coming up for you. Let me know. Let the community know. I'm hoping the comments, we can start to take care of each other here, because I'm not always going to be able to respond in a timely manner. My private practice and my other busy life things that leave me unable to fully engage in this YouTube channel all the time. I'm hoping that the comment section can serve as a place where we can come together and talk about these things together, and know that we're proud of each other. We're proud of each other for being here, for showing up, for people, being grateful for people like Suleika, who create time capsules like the Book of Alchemy that can allow generations of people to access journaling and expression in a different way, in an alternative way. There's all sorts of different paths you can go. There's The Artist's Way with Julia Cameron. There's different books out there with different structures for living a creative life. But I think if at the end of the day, all you can do is just to show up and to listen and to take in the experiences and the thoughts and the impressions of others, and then use that to brighten your life in whatever way you can, whatever way is accessible to you, then that's it. That's okay. I'm proud of you, stranger. I know it's a controversial thing to say these days, but I am proud of you, stranger. I'm proud of you for being here. I'm appreciative that you're here listening to me, watching me, and seeing this come together. I'm still working with that bleeding pen. I have to switch over to the other pens that don't bleed, but I kind of am still liking the way that the bleeding of the pen is looking. And this is that cornfield maze right here. Remember how I said that the corn lines don't really look like corn? Yeah, this was the corn maze, but look at the end result. Look at how cool this looks from afar. From afar, you just see an abstract-ish mess of, I don't know. I just love it. I love the feeling. I can't explain it. I don't know. I haven't been able to verbalize the feeling I get from this page specifically, but mostly surprise and shock and awe, because I couldn't believe I liked it as much as I did. And I'm not asking you to like it. I'm not asking for criticism or feedback. My YouTube channel is not a place where I want to be criticized for the art I make. I would love for one social media platform to be a place where I'm not criticized for the art I make, but I know that's a tall order because it's the internet and we're putting ourselves out there. But talk to me in the comments. Please please subscribe if you're enjoying this. I know it's a bit of a different type of channel here. We're doing things a little different, and I'm just starting out, but I'm really enjoying making these videos, and I'm really enjoying reading your comments and seeing you all engage and learning more about the people who are out there wanting to talk about this stuff. Talk to me about your parts. Do you notice your parts? Has anyone ever talked to you about parts before? What's your relationship to parts? It's okay if you don't quite understand it yet. Maybe it doesn't click for you. Maybe you're one of those people who doesn't have an inner narrator. That's crazy. If you're one of those people, talk to me about that. But I'm proud of you. I'm proud of us. Remember to sign and date your entry, and we'll be back for day 3. Remember, we're not going to necessarily have a video every day, but I'm going to do as much as I can to have as many as I can so we can get these 100 days done. Not in 2 years, but maybe in 100 and maybe like 20 days. We'll see. Okay, take care of yourself, take care of each other. And remember, if anything from these videos causes you to feel distressed or causes you to feel like you really need to talk to somebody, just reach out. Reach out. Don't do this alone, and don't let yourself stay in the dark without support. We all deserve someone, something, sometime, some way, and you shouldn't have to do it by yourself.